Today we're talking about Thor by Jason Aaron, the complete collection, volume 4. Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent, and today we're talking more Thor. This is the complete collection by Jason Aaron, and yes, that is Apocalypse between the two Thors fighting. That's not what this book is about, but it's a cool cover, and they used it. I would have maybe used one of the Unworthy Thor covers, or perhaps the one to Thor 700 that's contained in this volume, rather than this one, honestly, because it's more representative of what's in it. So, if you've been following along, we're reading through Jason Aaron's Thor run. We have one more of these to go, as well as War of the Realms. So, this kind of kicks off War of the Realms, per se. Like, the very end of the last page is, Malekith telling other people, like, I'm going to bring the War of the Realms to Earth! Ha ha ha! And, that is basically the buildup of the rest. I mean, it's not the buildup. He's still in the background moving pieces and things like that. Less so, that's more apparent than there was in Volume 3. Like, Volume 3, you really saw him move some pieces on the board in terms of taking over realms and starting fights and things like that. He's still doing that back here, but our focus again shifts more towards our main characters, and that is the mighty Thor, Jane Foster, and our unworthy Thor, or the Odin son, as he is sometimes called. So the first 5 issues in here are the Unworthy Thor miniseries. That's, again, Jason Aaron's drawn by Olivier Coipel, who came to fame with House of M. And this is basically Thor talking to what was or is Nick Fury these days. I think that's still Nick Fury's thing as the Seeker or the Watcher. Or no, he's called the Unseen. And all of this stuff relates back to Original Sin, which I have a review up on the channel of, because it came up in the middle of Thor, I think it was book 2, right? That Original Sin took place. So in Original Sin, basically, Nick Fury, before he turned into the Unseen, that's this guy right here. I've remembered you guys can't see down here at the bottom of the frame. Turned to Thor and whispered something in his ear, and it caused Thor to freak out and drop his hammer Mjolnir here on the moon. And from then on, he was unable to lift it. So Thor's been kind of, moping his head around the entire last 2 volumes, kind of figuring out what he's wanting to do. And now we have this spotlight on Thor, or the Unworthy Thor, or the Odin son. We have Beta Ray Bill joining him on an adventure here as they investigate what turns out to be the hammer from the Ultimate Universe appears in old Asgard, like destroyed Asgard. So there's a big battle with the Collector and the Odin son over the hammer. The Collector actually collects all of old Asgard in his little collection. So you have Beta Ray Bill and the Odin son doing battle with all these collections and things he's collected and all his stuff. So this kind of lets them let loose a little bit. So that's a lot of fun. But ultimately, the miniseries is a little underwhelming. You never see, Odinson never picks up the Ultimate Universe Mjolnir. And when I say Ultimate Universe, I mean like the hammer from the Ultimates, or the Ultimate Marvel Universe back from the early 2000s. This is taking place post-Secret Wars, so we've had the merging of the 2 universes, and basically everybody except Miles Morales and the Maker was kind of wiped out in Secret Wars. So you have that going on. But there's the revelation here of what Nick Fury whispered to Thor late, I think in issue 4 or 5, and it's kind of underwhelming. It's not anything that, not a big revelation. It's nothing as on the magnitude of finding out that the Phoenix is your mother, which happens in, not even in this storyline, I think it happens in the Avengers book for Thor. Slight spoilers for future issues or something. I don't know if we're ever go over that book or not. But, yeah, it's kind of underwhelming because Nick Fury just says Gore was right. And Thor, having just battled Gore, the God Butcher, realizes what that means and freaks out. That because Gore's whole thing was all gods are unworthy of worship. They're terrible. All these sorts of things. And Thor realizes, I think, his faults himself and drops the hammer. So in terms of like this big long secret that's been going on for, I don't know, 40, almost 48 issues at this point, or 36, something like that, it's kind of a letdown in terms of playing into the themes of Jason Aaron's run. I think it does work, and I think it has its strengths there. But if you were expecting a big revelation or anything like that, it doesn't play out. And even to this day, like this came out when Thor Ragnarok was coming out in 2016, I believe, and I don't remember what the words were until I read it in the book, and that's kind of bad to think about. You know what I mean? That whatever was said to Thor, like it's not a big moment like in Thor's life or comic book history the way that him dropping the hammer and becoming unworthy is, but the words that actually made him do it, since they happened so far into Jason Aaron's run, like so far back from when it actually happened, are so inconsequential that they don't stand up to the test of time. I think is my big critique about it, is that this revelation doesn't stand the test of time because everybody forgot about it. Ask a person on the street if they know. I mean, if in the comic book store, ask a person what Nick Fury whispered to Thor to make him drop his hammer. I don't think anybody will be able to tell you off the top of their head. So that's kind of fun. Or not fun, it's kind of bad. So the next storyline in here is the War Thor, and you see this Thor pick up the Ultimate Hammer and kind of goes on a rampage throughout the 9 realms. So then you have Thor trying to like calm him down. Jane Foster enters the fray here. You have some guest art by some awesome artists, and they kind of do battle, and you see how powerful Jane Foster is because nobody can stop the War Thor, and that's something we're going to build on in the next arc here. Then you have this Generations one-shot, which is drawn by Mahmoud Asrar, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He's a phenomenal artist, and this is some sort of like weird time travel thing that Marvel did. They had Generations where you had like, because this was the time Marvel was doing the multiple versions of the same hero or the passing of the torch. So they had some weird event with time travel where the new version went back in time and met the old one. So Miss Marvel went back in time and met the original Captain Marvel. You had Thor meeting old Thor, like going back in time, and this time they're in ancient Egypt, so therefore they're fighting Apocalypse and Sabanur, and that's why you have this cover right here. That's the cover to Thor Generations #1. Anyway, that ends. It doesn't really set up much, and then from there we go into what I think is one of the better storylines, where you have like Thor 700 happens. And that's this one right here where they have the Hulk battling, things like that. And then you kind of move on from there into the Mangog storyline. And this is where this run really starts to culminate in terms of themes and who's more powerful, who's better, but is Jane Foster really worthy? And Jane Foster proves herself, let's just say, for everyone in this Mangog storyline, which is a whole lot of fun. So the Mangog storyline kind of finalizes the end of Jane Foster's era as Thor. Here you have her at the gates of Valhalla. I'll let you figure out how she gets there. But it kind of finalizes that run of Jane Foster's Thor. And even at the end of the book, she's no longer Thor, and you have the granddaughters like visiting her and wanting to fly with her. And she's like, I'm not Thor, guys, anymore. Sorry. So the hammer has been passed back to our main character of like regular Thor, whatever you want to call him, the Odinson. So Volume 5 is up next, and that deals with that. I think it's 15 issues in that volume, pretty similar to all of these. But War of the Realms takes place like smack dab in the middle of it. So I'm gonna read half of that and probably read War of the Realms, and then you'll see a War of the Realms review go up first, and then that Volume 5 will follow sometime after that. It's still reading other things, mixing it up. So we have like a Marvel, a DC, a Indie, that kind of stuff. But all in all, I really did like this volume. I think this is one of the stronger ones. Like #1, I think has been the best for me so far. #3 was really strong with the Shi'ar Asgardian War, but I think this is a close #2 after Volume 1. Just with The Unworthy Thor series is fun. The whole War Thor and then the Mangog storyline is really awesome. So I think this is a strong number 2 contender in terms of best volume of these complete collections. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know down below what you thought of this book, and we'll see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.